So the Giants are keeping Joe Schoen and firing Brian Daboll? Hmm.
Eli Rax, El Jefe, Mr. Glass Half Full, the revival.
Peace and blessings. It is your boy, Eli Rax, aka Vibes, and welcome to New York Revival, where it's not just sports, it's entertainment. And of course, man, I usually have some people with me by my side. El Jefe, Mr. Glass Half Full. I actually did something for you guys yesterday, so I figured I missed out on the fun. Let me put something out, man, just to talk to my fellow Giants community here, man. A couple things to talk about. A couple things we're going to do is talk about the rumors of Joe Schoen staying with the New York Giants as general manager and the possibility of firing coach Brian Daboll. And also, man, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of the aftermath of the Pat Hanlon pretty much rant that went viral in the Giants community here. So I'm excited to talk to you guys a couple things. But first things first, we got to set the mood in here. Why the hell not, right? If you can, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. We do appreciate all the support here at the New York Revival, guys. But first, man, let's get right into it. Brian Daboll is on the hot seat, per se, and not Joe Schoen. So, of course, rumor has it's been going around, guys, on the Giants community, on the X app. If you don't got it, please make sure you follow me at I am Eli Rax. Not only that, guys, when you seen it circulating that Joe Schoen could be possibly safe and Brian Daboll is going to depart here, they're going to fire him and get another head coach. Here's what I think. If you guys follow New York Revival, you want to understand how I feel when it comes to Joe Schoen. To me, Joe Schoen didn't do a well enough job here to help out Coach Daboll. Now, don't get it twisted. Brian Daboll has his own opportunities that he has to work on. Brian Daboll is not perfect by far. But I think that comes to the scale, one tips it a little higher or lower than the other one. Guys, I already said in the past how you looked at the draft picks that Joe Schoen had. Kayvon Thibodeau is not turning out to be that value. Evan Neal definitely not turning out to be that value. And the list can go on and on and on. So we know if you don't have the talent here, how can you coach these guys up? Not only that, Joe Schoen paid Daniel Jones all that money in that contract. They hitched the ride to him, knowing pretty much the history here of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones got a couple coaches fired, a GM, and now it looks like it's going through the same things here, which I think is insane. But we already know when you don't have a roster that's talented at this point. And when you look at Joe Schoen and the job that he's done here for the New York Giants, you go, man, has he put in the right pieces? And extending Daniel Jones, was that the right move? In hindsight 2020, no. Now, a lot of people say, well, Eli, this offense looks so much better under Daniel Jones. I beg to differ. Just because you are the best quarterback in the worst quarterback room in the NFL doesn't mean the offense was better. They were still second or to dead last in most of their stats here, guys, with Daniel Jones in the lineup. So is that coaching? We'll get to that in a second, okay? But again, I look at Joe Schoen, and the first year he gets in here has mostly Dave Gettleman guys in here. The cap situation was terrible when these guys go to the playoffs, and long and behold, Daniel Jones gets his contract. Now, I think a little pushback could have been there for Brian Daboll, but you don't got a choice, right? I'm sure he hitched his ride to Daniel Jones too. But again, looking at it in its totality, and I won't get into it much, Joe Schoen has not earned the right to be here as general manager. Is Brian Daboll the scapegoat? I would I would think so. To be honest, I would think so. But then I get it. If someone's going to be fired, for me and only me, I say let them all go. But I think I could kind of make an argument for Brian Daboll. I think. Former NFL Coach of the Year, takes the team to the playoffs. All hell breaks loose the year after. Wink Martindale departs in a nasty divorce here with the New York Giants. Embarrassing. And rumor has it that Kafka was on his way out until they gave him a promotion. Nasty. And the offense didn't look that good under Kafka at that year either. We all called for Brian Daboll to call plays. So here's the year. Joe Schoen had a couple more drafts here. He gets Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal. All in there is like, man, this is going to help the O-line. Signed a couple players in here as well. Didn't look good. The roster turnover was just crazy. Not only that, you look at the starting of the season. Saquon walks. Xavier McKinney walks. A lot of people could say, man, Joe Schoen could have got something for him. If you were going to make him walk, you could have traded him for something. We needed a lot more picks here, Joe Schoen. And if he would have did that at that season, the Giants, and this is his, let's say this is his best year at drafting. So just imagine if he would have traded Saquon Barkley or an Xavier McKinney, knowing he wasn't going to extend those guys. That'd have been more picks and more players and more capital to move up to get a Drake May. To get the Jaden Daniels, maybe. Throwing the farm at people. Joe Schoen whiffed on that as well. Tell me he didn't. Tell me he didn't. But let's say for Brian Daboll, of course these things don't happen. You lose two key players that are balling out right now and on other teams at this point. If a roster's this weak, how do you expect a coach to coach? Guess what the Giants are missing right now, in my opinion? You guessed it. The Giants are missing leadership in that locker room. And a lot of people say, well, they got rid of Daniel Jones. He was the leader of there. He was a leader. But the number one leader in that locker room was Saquon Barkley. Joe Schoen let him go. His pride. He didn't want to go over that number. So there goes a piece right there. Nice weapon Brian Daboll could have had. And listen, I wanted Saquon to go too. I want Saquon to go win somewhere. I don't think he'd have been this Saquon that we're seeing MVP of the league right now, monster. I don't think we'd have seen him here at the New York Giants, but man, it would have helped Coach Daboll. Man, it'd have been great to have him here. Because who would have known? Who would have known? Could have been good, right? But I'm happy for Saquon. Shout out to Saquon. One of my favorite Giant players currently. Not anymore. But when you start losing Xavier McKinney, the guy that's in the safety, heart and soul of that defense basically at that time, and that secondary, gone, leadership, no longer there. So when you look at it, you go, man, these two leaders, they go, and who else is there? Nobody. Okereke can't really step up to be the leader, unfortunately. Dexter Lawrence can't show that he's the leader. He's very silent. He's got a little more maturing to do. No disrespect. But he doesn't have any dogs in there. People go, well, man, Kayvon Thibodeau. No. A lot of people go, you know what, Malik Neighbors, a rookie? This is a recipe for disaster. I really don't think Brian Daboll was dealt a good hand. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people will say, man, this team, etc., the penalties, everything's, the game plan has been vanilla, has been sloppy. The amount of injuries can do that. Continuity not being there can do that. And the list can go on. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that Brian Daboll is blameless. I'm not sitting here and saying that. But I understand the hand he was dealt. Very poor roster here. Very poor decisions here by the general manager. And the fact that all this stuff came out about the general manager, shout out to Talking Giants, very good friends of the show. Kind of got some people in trouble. I'm telling you right now, I think the Giants are on damage control. I'm going to predict something here. I really do think The fact that Talking Giants did that, and the fact that New York Revival had their moment and their truth to be told on our show, I think the Giants are going to do a damage control. It wouldn't surprise me because I really do think the Giants want to keep Joe Schoen, which I think is messed up for Brian Daboll. I don't think he should be fired, but we'll get to that in a second. I really do think that the Giants will do a damage control. Don't be surprised if you guys in the next couple weeks see an article raving about Joe Schoen and how good of a job he's doing and how ownership trusts him to do the right things here, that the ownership trusts him to lead us into the future, but just not sure about the coach. Don't be surprised. You're going to see these glowing reviews of Joe Schoen in the next couple of weeks. I'm just predicting it. Let's see if I'm psychic or something. But I wouldn't be shocked. It's damage control. I don't think John Mara wants to have all these wholesale changes as he's been doing in the past. It looks sloppy on the organization. But the fall guy would be Brian Daboll. Here's my thought, okay? I really do wholeheartedly want to keep them both because I really do think they're going to keep Joe Schoen. But the Giants, do me a favor. If you're going to keep Joe Schoen, keep Brian Daboll. Because guess what's going to happen? Joe Schoen is going to stay and you'll fire Brian Daboll. Then he's a lame duck GM that just hired a new head coach. Then guess what happens if the quarterback that they forced themselves to pick doesn't work out? And we start losing games for another 2 years. Now that head coach you bought in might be out of a job. And we all know how head coaching jobs for the New York Giants work. They're hard to get back on their feet to coach in the NFL or become another head coach, period, again. So here you go. You got a lame duck GM, new head coach in here. Doesn't work out in 2 years, and they're fired again. And here we are again having a difficult conversation about the New York Giants and John Mara. So guess what, John Mara? Before you fire Coach Daboll, okay, keep them both. Let them draft their guy. If these guys are not it next year, then you kick them to the curb here. Because what's the definition of insanity? Is repeating the same thing, expecting a different result. John Mara, you're doing that right now if the rumors are true. You're going to keep the GM and you're going to fire the head coach. We've seen this before, didn't we? How did it turn out? Guys, I don't think we need to be psychic here. We've seen this story play out for our franchise here. So to me and only me, I think it'll be a terrible idea to fire Daboll and keep Joe Schoen. Personally, for me, clean house. Let the new GM and etc. come in and the head coach pick their guy. If it's a quarterback, then it's a quarterback. If it's not, it's not. We understand it's a rebuild. We get it. We got to have just a tad bit of patience here. That's me. Get rid of them all. But I understand John Mara's a little bit insane. A tad bit, maybe. And I'm only kidding, by the way. Relax. I like John Mara. That's my guy. I love John Mara. But it might be a little insane here. Just trying to do the same thing, expecting a different results. I really wholeheartedly feel and think if this happens and it all fails, the NFL will step in just like in the past. And the NFL will make the changes necessary to make sure the Giants are the pristine franchise they claim to be. They had to do it before. I think they'll have to do it again. What do they say? History repeats itself, right? Scary times to be a Giants fan, people. I'd have never thought Vibes, you guys gave me the nickname, the most positive guy on X when it comes to the New York Giants. Well, I'm a positive guy overall. When it comes to the New York Giants, I may have been blinded a bit. I just might have. So much of a fan that I'm like, man, I still believe. I still believe. I do. But man, when your eyes open a little bit, you go, whew, what happened to this franchise? What happened here? Guys, I made a rant this past week that went crazy, calling for the resignation of Pat Hanlon. I still stand firm to that. And the reason why I stand firm to that, because the Giants could have did one thing and one thing only this past season. 100 years, they could have did something a little bit different. They could have opened their players to content creators. They could have opened their players to a bunch of other media and really made it a good celebration and made it feel like we was a part of it. With that right there can actually give you a little bit more patience. That right there can actually change the narrative for you if you would have did that for content creators. Now, a lot of people say, well, you need, as I got the backlash this week, you need the New York Giants. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. They don't need you. They're going to be fine without you. They don't care what you say. I beg to differ. I think they do care what we say. And the Giants do need us. And I'm not talking about content creators, guys. I'm talking about the fans. Because at the end of the day, I am a fan of the New York Football Giants and forever will be. But don't you for a second think, while doing this content creating here, that I've asked the Giants for anything. I have not. My biggest supporters, Giants family. When I give away tickets, Giants family makes sure I got them in hand to give it to someone who's in need or has never been to a game. And that's something I don't brag about. And that's something I never let the world know. But I do a lot behind the scenes. All the guests that came on New York Revival that you've seen in this intro, down to the old intro I just played for you with Ransom talking, all friends of mine. I didn't call the Giants for that. The only time I interacted with the New York Giants was the thing I ranted about. And it wasn't the most pleasant thing to deal with. Sure, they were nice. Don't get me wrong. They were great people. It just wasn't pleasant to deal with. It's kind of like seeing your hero or someone you looked up to all these years. And you finally see him and you go, man, I can't believe that's him. And you walk up to him and you put your hand out and say, God, I'm a fan. And he goes, yeah, whatever, kid, get out of here. It hurts a bit. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not sitting here trying to say I'm a guy that scorned what the Giants did. No, I move on. I'm happy with it. And I didn't create that rant because I was upset. I was just saying, man, they missed an opportunity to change the narrative about this franchise, to change the narrative about this season. Because then they'd be like, you know what? At least 100 years they reached out to us, even though it didn't go as planned. Let's give these guys a little bit more time. But the losing on top of everything else that you see here today kind of stings just a tad bit for everyone. Not only I'm upset, but you're starting to see the entire Giants community upset here. Guys, in my DMs, I've got people that wrote letters to Mr. Mara himself, and I had the honor of reading them. And I just want to thank you guys for sharing some of them with me. But when I read some of those letters, I go, yep, it's exactly how I feel. Yep, I get it. Yep, we've had enough. This isn't the franchise we remember. This isn't the franchise we love. This isn't the franchise we thought it can be during this particular modern time. So, John Mara, hear us and hear us good. Please fix this thing once and for all. If you wholeheartedly think Joe Schoen is the guy, fine. If you don't think Brian Daboll can do his job to his fullest potential and you want to move on from him, fine. But Mr. Mera, hear me and hear me good. Next season, we expect a winning, competent product on the field. Because if it looks anything like we're seeing here today, I don't know if you're going to have fans over there at MetLife Stadium packing it out as you used to. Of course, man, it's your boy Eli Rax, a.k.a. Vibes. Guys, I see you on the next one. Boy, it's going to be a long, sweet off season.
Eli Rax, El Jefe, Mr. Glass Half Full, the Revival.